Hello, hello, good evening. This week or today marks the end of Mental Health Week for Children in the UK. And you would agree with me that the mental health of children is of utmost importance, especially in the world in which we live right now. Welcome to Parenting Made Simple, our podcast where we have real parents who share real stories in a bit to empower, to help build a stronger community of children who are resilient, who are happy, and who are confident. My name is Ivy Ngwa, and I will be your host for this episode. You are truly welcome, and I hope that you will have a lovely time here with us today. Whilst I get myself set for 30 seconds, I will leave you with this music. Okay, right. Good evening once again. Tell you what, I was just trying to make sure that it's working on Instagram, but Instagram seems to be giving me a little bit of a run for my money. So I have got here the delectable Lucia, who would be, talking about, who will be helping me to unpack this episode today. Like I said, you are welcome to our podcast. It is our podcast. I call it our podcast because it is not just my thing, okay? It is our thing. And today we are unpacking well-being for children. And the reason being, this week is well-being week for children in the UK, and today rounds up the well-being week or the mental health week for children. If you're just joining us, hello. My name is Ivy. I am your host for today, and I've been joined by Lucia, who is going to introduce herself. Tell you what, I don't want to introduce this lady because she is, amazing. She will introduce herself by herself. So, Lucia, over to you. Do you want to introduce yourself for us today, please?
Of course. Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's my first time ever. doing a podcast, and I am delighted and honored to do it doing Children's Mental Health Week here in the UK. And as you said, it's a great way to end the week and to make people more aware of children's well-being. My name is Luthia Masio Kembe. I am the founder of Fit Kids Healthy Minds. I have created a children's club called Wellbeing Club, and I work with schools. So I go into schools as an after school activity and provide them with the club where we use games, sports, and physical activity. We use other activities such as arts and crafts and even mindfulness. All of this is to promote, of course, children's well-being, to help children become more confident and resilient so that they can deal with any issues that come to them later on in life. And that's
Thank
what I
you so
do.
much, Lucia. Thank you so much. So you are the CEO of Hit Kids Healthy Minds.
Yes.
And, it does really tie in with what we're doing today, and it ties in with the podcast as well, because the podcast is a space where real parents share real stories so that we can help build a stronger community of children who are resilient, who are confident, and who are happy. So it does. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, let me just say a hello to those of you who've just joined online. If you have joined on Facebook or you have joined on YouTube, please do share the video with people in your network, especially if you are a parent on here. Even if you're not a parent yet, and people or parents in your community, please do share it with them, because this is something that is going to be really, really, I am so excited for today's episode. But also, you can comment, send your comments. We can see all your comments. If you have any questions, we can see your questions. So as we go along, please, please, please ask your questions. Okay, even though this is a podcast, it is also a talk show. So ask your questions and get your answers as well. Okay, so I'm gonna dive straight into it, Lucia, because we've got an hour to be on here, and I know I can natter. I love a chat. Okay, so if we
You know what? Yes, I
if
was
we
going
get
to
to
say, you
the
know what,
heart of
funny, an
it,
hour sounds like it's a lot, but I could talk about this is truly my passion, so I could talk about it for days. So let's
yeah.
get.
Okay, right. Let's get to it. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Besides Fit Kids Healthy Minds, are you a parent yourself? Do you have young people or children in your life? Tell us a little bit about that.
I am a parent. I am a mother of two. I have a 12-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. My son is also autistic, and we are waiting for an ADHD diagnosis. I think it's very important to mention that because it requires a very different parenting style for each child.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. And I am an auntie to lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of children. As you know,
Aren't
as
we all?
Africans.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
I am an auntie to lots of children, but my immediate family is my sister. We used to live on the same road, literally same road. So I
Yeah.
was always around my nieces and nephews, and I'm still very close. I'm 20 minutes away from them now, but
Yeah.
still I see them on a weekly basis. So I would like to say that I'm quite I'm still in their lives.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Now, it's great that you have mentioned about your son being autistic and waiting for an ADHD diagnosis as well, because with me working in schools, because I'm a teacher, my day job is as a teacher. With me working in schools, I definitely know that it is different. The way that you parent an autistic child or a child with ADHD or any special needs child is different from the way that you parent other children as well. So, my first thing or my first question to you, let me just say hello to a few people who've just joined. Hello, my sister Patty. Thank you for joining. Please, if you're just joining us, do share the stream. It will be really great to have, other people watching as well. We really want to build this podcast to reach as many parents as possible, because we are confident. We are confident. I keep saying we because it's not my thing. Okay, it is our thing, all of us. I am confident that we can reach as many parents as possible, and we can together help our children to become resilient, happy, and build that stronger community. So, can you share a little bit of your own experiences, Lucia,
Hmm.
or or observations regarding children's well-being?
Right. I think I need to go back to how it all started.
Mm,
As I said, I have a 12-year-old and I'm also an auntie. So it was a few years back. And as you do when a new year start, we start with a new year resolution. And I said, I really want to find my why, like my passion, my calling. And I know that I like children and I like working with children. So I said, do you know what? I'm really gonna help my niece and daughter to kind of get a little bit fitter and healthier. So I started every day after school, 30 minutes after school. I said everything is very local. We live next to each other. So after school, I would tell them, come to my house. We'll do some exercises every day. And apart from that, we should also create a WhatsApp group and you send me what you eat so I can make sure that you're eating healthy and you're following up with my advice and things like that. I'm very pro health. I used to be overweight. People don't believe that. I used to be overweight, but I started to exercise and eating better, and I got very healthy. So I wanted to install those same things into the people that I love the most. And I could see that my daughter was gaining weight. Her father giving her lots of sweets and things like that. So I wanted to put that into control. But after a while, I didn't see the results that I wanted.
mm,
And one day I just had that light bulb moment and say, hold on, why is this not working? What did I do when I was overweight? What is it? What's the main thing that changed things for me? And I
mm,
realized it was my mindset. The way I was seeing, the way I used to see myself before and after,
yeah,
or better say before and during the process. And I realized that, especially with my niece, I said she's exercising, and exercising has very positive factors, but she's still very low confidence, very low on herself. So I kept wondering what's going on, and I realized, oh, it's her mindset. She doesn't have the right mindset. She doesn't have the right mindset to believe that she can do this, to believe that she's capable, to kind of have the confidence that she needs to carry on building her a healthy lifestyle. And then a few months passed. I kind of gave up for a while. A few months passed, and I
mm,
was doing. I can. A few months passed, and I knew, okay, I really want to know what can I do. What is my? I kept looking for my calling, so I kept doing research, and I came upon children's mental health
yeah,
research. And when I was looking at the statistics, it said 1 in 5 children, based on a 2017 study, 1 in 5 children will have a mental health problem. I thought that broke my heart. That
mm,
was shocking. Because when we look at our children, we don't think about mental health. We
yeah,
don't think that they are, because if you cannot associate your child with
mm,
depression, your
yeah,
child with anxiety, because you're thinking that cannot be right. They're only a child.
mm,
But research shows otherwise. The research shows that this happens to children. Children do get anxiety. Children do get depressed.
yeah,
I thought, oh my God, this is a horrible issue. It's a horrible problem. And it's not just, it's nationwide. It's a
yeah,
big issue. So I started doing some more research and I thought, oh my goodness, how can I help? What can I do about this? So I said, you know what? This is my calling. This is how I'm gonna run a business. But I thought, how? But I still kept wondering how, because I still want to help my daughter and my niece with the exercise and creating healthy habits. But I want to find a way to combine both. So I asked myself, how can I do this? And I said, I have to go to schools. I have to get to schools because one, children spend most of the time in the schools,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
two, the easiest way to do it is by teaching them from very young. So I targeted primary schools, and
Mm,
that's how Fit Kids Healthy Minds came to fruition.
yeah,
So I wanted to work on well-being. I wanted children and parents and teachers and everybody that is works with children to make them aware of how important it was to have good well-being, not
Mm.
just physical, because I think you might agree with me, because a lot of schools have so many clubs,
Yeah.
and I would say 99% of those clubs are physical. You have football, you have tennis, you have multi-sports, you have drama,
Mm.
so many clubs. But I was doing research, because obviously once you start thinking about business, you need to do research, competition,
Absolutely.
your competitors. And I
Mm.
could not find a single business that was focusing on children's well-being, not
Wow.
just physical well-being, but emotional and mental well-being.
Yeah.
So I think that's how it all started, and it's so important, because as parents, as a society, and of course the children, they're not aware of how important your mental well-being is. And it's important to feel good within yourself, to have that
Absolutely.
confidence. And
Yeah.
if we teach that to children, we teach that. I work with children, as I said, primary school, so age 4 to 11.
Yeah.
If a 4-year old understands, this is how I feel, this is what I can do about my feelings, there will be it will be easier for them to manage whatever problem comes
Mm.
ahead, whether
Mm.
as a child or eventually in their adult life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned something there that really stands out, which is emotions.
Mm.
There are so many people who do not have that emotional regulation, who cannot even name the emotions that they are
Mhm.
feeling, let alone be able to regulate those emotions. And I
Mhm.
suppose those emotions are at the foundation of mental wellness, because
Absolutely.
once you're able to master your emotions, you're then able to do something about them. So,
Mhm.
and it's great that you are talking about what motivated you, what inspired you to start thinking of in along the lines of well-being, which is, for most parents, it is always about one story or the other. Either they wanted to really help their children,
Mhm.
or they wanted to their child was struggling and they wanted to help, or maybe they work with other children and other young people. A personal story for me is my daughter. 2 years ago, my daughter was struggling in school, and she wasn't struggling academically. She is very apt in her academics, but she
Mhm.
was struggling, and there were some big emotions that she was not able to manage, really. And the class teacher called my attention and said, your daughter has been, there are days in class where she just breaks down in tears and she just cries. And to me, it really broke my heart, because she is someone, she loves school. She absolutely adores school, and she adores her friends, and she loves going and playing and learning and all of that. And just to hear that, it broke my heart. So immediately I asked the teacher, what do you recommend?
Mhm.
There are things that I can do at home. But because she's breaking down in school, it means that maybe there are some emotions in school that she's not able to manage. Or maybe she's taking it from home into school. I don't know. What
Mhm.
can I do? And the teacher said to me, look, there is a mental health team that is trialing something in school. Would you like me to sign her up for it? And I was like, yes, I'm all over that. Please do. Please sign her up. And then the teacher said, but however, it will require you to come in once a week with her to the sessions. And I said, that is even better, because I would love to know what
Mhm.
she's doing in those sessions. And that is how, for 8 weeks, I went in once every week on a Tuesday morning for about an hour and a half. I went in, supported her, and she got through that. And
Mhm.
after 8 weeks, she was a completely different child in school. She would play, she was more confident, she was able to say no to her friends when she didn't want to play, she
Mhm.
engaged in play when she wanted to, but it was all around those really big emotions. So I share this story just to say that as a parent, like I say, you know what the tagline is of the podcast: real parents sharing real stories. That is the real story of a child who was supported by the school. And I'm glad that the teacher picked it up.
Yes.
So back to you then, Lucia. What have you noticed? Normally, you're working with children.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. There's a bit of background noise. I can't quite tell where it's coming from,
Oh,
but we'll just carry on and see. Um,
okay.
you work with children, you support them in your organization. Obviously, you would have come across some key factors that would influence a sense of well-being in children. What are some of these key factors?
I would say the main key factors would be the immediate environment. So, as you were talking about your daughter, for example,
Mm,
so that would be the environment in her school
mm,
or the environment at home. Uh, Sometimes some children are different at school and completely different at home. So it's important to know how are they in school? Who are they? Are they happy in school? Do they have friends in school? Do they feel comfortable in the school? Are they doing well academically? But
mm,
also their home environment. A lot of the times teachers and school staff are not aware of things that are happening at home. So it's important to know, is everything okay at home? Do they feel, I know this is going to sound weird, but do they feel as part of the family? Are they comfortable at home? Is there stability at home? So I think those are key factors that will then affect a child's well-being,
mm,
especially at that young age.
mm.
Yeah.
You mentioned that sense of belonging at home. Are they comfortable at
Yeah.
home? You know, it brings me back to the fact that even working in schools with children, you
Mm,
can already see a child who feels comfortable in a classroom. They
mm,
thrive in that subject, and they are able to put up their hands. They feel safe in that environment, in that
mm,
classroom,
mhm,
and they are able to thrive because they feel safe, because they have that sense of belonging.
mm,
And also they have that acceptance, because one of my students would, in one of the schools that I've worked at, you
mm,
have students who come in and they feel they will thrive in one classroom, but they'll not thrive in another classroom. And you start asking, what is it about this particular classroom that you're not thriving in?
mm.
And they would say, well, I don't get along with that teacher.
Yeah.
It's something like that. And it's not about getting along with that teacher, it's that sense of belonging, isn't it?
Mm,
And sometimes that sense of acceptance as well. You know,
yeah.
some children feel accepted in their home, and
Mm,
it's not about what the parent says or does not say. It's just that general feel around the
yeah.
household as well. Yeah.
Yes. I was going to say is how they are made to feel.
Hmm.
Yes, and it's very it's very common because we live in a world where everything is very fast paced. Everything is very fast paced, especially as working parents. So like me and you, we working parents, but also running a business. You
Hmm.
come home, you on a schedule. You come home, you make dinner, you put them to bed, and da 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 da. Da. But if there's no interactions on a regular basis, if they not you're not making your children aware that they
Hmm.
matter, that they are also part of the family, that they can suggest things or do things with them together, they might not feel
Hmm.
as part of the family. They
Yeah.
might not have that sense of belonging.
Hmm.
So yes, I agree. I agree with that, and with the classroom example as well.
Okay. What about things like, obviously for older kids? To be honest, I don't think the things that, when it comes to well-being or that sense of belonging or acceptance, is the same for all kids. It doesn't matter
No.
if the child is 18 or the child is 2 or 4. It doesn't really matter. But thinking about things like, or factors such as, social media and peer pressure, how
Mm.
would those impact the well-being of a child?
Um, I can't speak professionally because, as I said, I only work with primary school age children, and at
Hmm.
that age, they're still not very much into having like their own phones or technology
Yeah.
or social media. But obviously, my daughter is 12, and once you exposing yourself,
Hmm.
you then have to kind of, that peer pressure comes in, and speaking from experience with my daughter,
Yeah.
once you are, obviously my daughter has just started, this is her first year in secondary school, but she's coming from primary school where she's been there most of her years. She already
Yeah.
has a group of friends, and coming into secondary school, complete different people. So you're gonna have that peer pressure. You start in a new year, she's gonna want to have friends. She's gonna want to have her own group. So
Mm,
there's peer pressure there of what group can I belong to? What can I do to belong into this group? And with social media is very tricky. Again, it's only speaking from personal experience. It's very
yeah.
tricky because you can either say, I'm going to be the very strict parent and not allow social media at all in our lives,
Mm,
or I'm going to try and have some sense of some sort of control when it comes to it. But the thing with my daughter is that from a very young age, because we live in Surrey. Well, at the moment, right now, we are in the border between Surrey and Hampshire. We live in Surrey, so there
mm,
isn't as many black people as in London.
yeah.
So with my daughter, I have tried from a very ever since almost I would say since she was a baby, reading her books to make sure she has confidence, she has that sense of self, so
Mm,
that she's not that peer pressure doesn't affect her as much. I
yeah.
remember I used to buy her when it was very hard to find, buy her books about being that beautiful black girl with the big curly hair. Um, always letting her know that she's special, but
Mm,
it is also that kind of praising your child, reminding them that they are special no matter who they are, because as everyone is unique, so you are unique and that makes you special. Just constantly having that chat and that reminder for my daughter, I think that helps when
mm,
it comes to peer pressure and social media. I
okay.
have to be honest and say I'm a bit, I was gonna say old school. I don't know if old school is the word, but I'm not aware of all of these apps. There is so many apps out there. So I have
Mm,
to be honest and say I'm not aware of everything that my daughter is on. But what I do know and what I do encourage is to obviously
mm,
safety online. These things are taught in the school, but also I reinforce it at home. Safety online. Do not speak to strangers. Make sure that the people that you follow on TikTok are only your
mm,
friends from school, um, your friends from school. And obviously, I'm lucky enough to know her friends' parents from when she was in like nursery or like reception.
mm,
So I think from my side, I'm very lucky in that. So it all goes back to well-being. It all goes back to teaching your child to be confident and on themselves, to have that positive sense of self. Because without that, once you reach a certain point, you can easily get lost when it comes to peer pressure. You can easily get lost when it comes to following a trend that you might see online, and that trend is got nothing to do with who you are as a person. So
mm,
it's up to us as parents to teach our children to be confident, to teach our children to know who they are, and not let peer pressure affect them.
mm,
Obviously, I think it would be very crazy to say that peer pressure doesn't affect children,
it
especially from a
does.
age.
Yeah.
But there is levels to it. There
Yeah.
is levels to it, and I still my daughter still. I would like to think that she's very confident in herself,
Mm,
and um and we kind of can talk about anything. And if there's any problems, she would come to me. And she's very mature when it comes to that aspect of things. So I think I'm very lucky when it comes to that. But as I said, it all comes down to your child's well-being, for them having a sense of self and having the confidence on who they are.
yeah. Thank you so much. I really like that you are going back to that sense of self. A healthy sense of self in children is really important. And I almost want to say that it is almost at the foundation as well of well-being, because of the child's well-being, because if the child can believe in themselves and be, have that positive image about themselves, then there are certain things that they will not indulge in, especially when it comes to social media these days. Like for
Mm,
my children, I've got two boys and a girl who are, I've got four children in total, but two boys and a girl who are much older. My eldest is 17, and then my daughter is 10. But when it comes to social media, I think as they've grown older, my son has grown older, I have gradually relinquished some of the controls that I had in place earlier on.
mhm,
And it was initially, I was very skeptical about, yeah, do you want to go on this app or you don't want to go on this app? But there were no, I took more the route of education rather than education and prevention, rather than having to fight and say, you cannot go here, you cannot go there, you cannot go there. um, it was that education at home that really made me to, this is what could happen, and this is what we are dealing with. So when you go on these apps, just be really mindful that this is what could happen. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for, and that sense of self as well is really important. When you have when a child is confident, you can see it. They'll be able to say, no, I can't join this group, or I can't join that group. Or if they are being pressured by a friend to do something, I can't go there, or I can't go here.
Yeah.
So there are a few people who've just joined. Let me acknowledge them. Thank you so much, Susie, for joining. And thank you, Maju. Thank you so much for joining. And everyone, please, if you've just joined us, do share. Remember to share it so that other parents in your network can benefit from it as well. Remember, our tagline is Real Parents Sharing Real Stories. And the purpose of this is to make sure that we build our children and a stronger community, so that our children can be confident, they can be resilient, and they can be happy. Okay, so just moving on now, let me just move on to this question, because I think this is really important, giving practical steps to parents, because we've got parents on here, and I'm hoping that we can get some practical steps, to give some practical steps to these parents. So can you give us three? I'm not going to keep you too long. I just want three practical steps that parents can do to promote the well-being of their children.
So, three practical steps. I would say number one, and most importantly, make time for your children. This one is very difficult, but also the most important. As I said before, we live in a very fast paced era. But research has shown that spending at least 30 minutes an hour, sorry, 30 minutes a day with your child will give them that sense of being loved and as we said earlier, feeling that they belong in the family. So spending time together, the easiest way to do this, dinner time. At dinner time, you sit together, you have your meal together, and that can just start talking about anything. How was your day? When I go into schools and I run the sessions, I always ask them at the beginning and at the end of the session, how was your day? And maybe the first session, they might not say much. By the second or third session, oh gosh, sometimes we can't get them to stop talking. So spending time together. Number two, build some sort of habit when it comes to like we're talking about positive self-image. Affirmations are great, but I know that it's not something most parents practice.
Mm,
But you can do it. There's lots of different ways to do it. Obviously, I have me and my daughter have a box of affirmation cards. But if you
mm,
don't have that, it could be as simple as, for example, when I'm driving my kids to school, it's a half an hour drive.
mm,
So I can just start the day very energetic when I'm driving and say, hey, you know what? It's gonna be a great day. And I'm shaking her. Say it with me. It's gonna be a great day. You need to know you're gonna have a great day.
mm,
And if you wake up and it's a new day, you notice your child is different. Maybe they feeling sad, they feeling down. Find out why they're feeling sad, and then you can turn that around into a positive thing and make it an affirmation. You are feeling sad because yesterday I didn't get to play with my friends. Turn it into an affirmation. I am happy. Today I am happy. Today I choose to be happy. Today I choose to be happy regardless of what happens in my environment. So you don't always have to go in front of the mirror every day and do the same boring thing and say, I am happy, I am beautiful, I am amazing, I am smart. But find your own way to install that self positive image, self love into your children.
mm,
And number three, I would say praise your children. Praise your children for sometimes we're thinking it's the very, very small thing that sometimes your child comes to you, they've done a drawing and you just busy and you are annoyed and just okay, yeah, very well done. Yeah, and then that's it. But that praise is so important to them. My daughter is very artistic, and I'm not. I'm not interested in art. I'm not artistic. I cannot even do like I can't do none of that.
Mm,
But she's very artistic, and for Christmas I bought her this acrylic, like acrylic set to make like vases and stuff like that. And she spends so much time doing that. And she's also very sensitive. So I need to encourage her and praise her. Oh my God, that is so beautiful. How did you do that? And then also, as I say that to her, we start in a new conversation. I'm engaging with her. So praise your children. If you have younger children, obviously like you potty training them, well done. Even if they didn't do nothing, just the fact that they sat in the toilet and they didn't just get up and go and play, well done. Well done you for sitting down. And if your children are going through exams, even whether they did well or not, the fact that they've tried, they spent time studying, praise them. If you've gone in a long trip and they're sitting down in the car for very long, well done you. Just that praising is very, 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 very important.
mm.
They build confidence of that. And remember, um, with the children that I work with, primary age children, again, you are their first love. So they look up to you. So what you say to them really, really matters. So praise your children. I think that is so, so, so important.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, the one about praise, that is something that I have posted so much on social media about, because I'm going back to schools. You would be amazed at the smiles that you bring on the faces of young people and children the moment you praise them. And there's one trick: the more you praise them, the more they want to do, such that you can praise them even more.
And they do
So
better.
they want to do better. So the way that I usually talk about praise is, don't just say well done whilst you're not engaging with that child.
Mm.
Turn around, stop what you're doing for a minute. It doesn't take long. Stop it for a minute, turn around, eye contact, or at least look at them. Well done. Not just a generic well done, because what are you saying well done for? You
Mm.
know, say well done and praise what they have done. You're not praising them, you're praising what they've done. So that when you then give some criticism, you're not criticizing them. So they build that resilience of receiving praise and
Mm.
receiving feedback in general. So well done for this picture that you've drawn. It looks really colorful. Or well done for drawing such a colorful picture, and really emphasize the effort that they've put into whatever they've done, because at the end of the day, they've done the best that they could have done with
Yeah.
the resources that they have. Even if the picture does not look anything like you, if they've drawn you and it doesn't look anything like you, praise the effort, because that is really great.
Yes.
So obviously you've given us three things that we can do, or three things or three ideas that we can do to be able to increase the well-being of our children. Now that is well-being on more a psychological level right there. And I strongly believe that to be able to support our child's well-being, we need to begin from there. We need to begin from building their confidence, because it's through that confidence that they can then manage, those emotions. They can become resilient and all of that. What about some physical things? What are physical things that parents can do to help the well-being of their or the physical well-being of their children?
Oh, that's a very good question because with me in particular, I focus a lot more on like you said, the other side of things.
Mm,
But I think the answers will be similar because when you're spending time together, you are physically together, you are doing things together. I'm reading a book about children's mental well-being, and I found it very. There's a section of it on things to do with your children, and the research behind outdoor activities, it's amazing. So that's being physical, it's so important. Spending time together, it's so important.
mm,
And it doesn't have to be. I know a lot of parents that just, and this is not a criticism, but I know a lot of parents that just do the most. Every weekend you have to go Legoland, and then you go this and then museum. Not everybody's able to do that, and I don't. And I think some parents feel bad when they're not able to provide that for their children. But something as small as cooking together. My son is 6, and as I mentioned, he has autism. He's non-verbal.
Mm,
He might also have ADHD. I say might because I don't have an official diagnosis. But
mm,
I notice he likes cooking.
mm,
So instead of letting him be on the tablet while he cooks, which is very comfortable for me, to be honest, I can always invite him to the kitchen
mm,
and get him to help me put his hand over the knife while I hold the vegetables, get him to cook for me, or
mm,
just get him to put the vegetables into the pan. So doing something together, whether it's in the house or whether it's outside, it's very important because it's again it's nurturing that relationship and having and the relationships with our families. It's also very important when it comes to children's well-being.
mm.
But as I said, doing something physical is also extremely important.
Yeah.
I used to exercise with my daughter. Now she's not. Now she's a little bit too grown. She's not interested. I used to exercise. We used to have this Wii. I don't know if how old is everybody here, but we used to have a Wii,
A
and
wee board,
uh,
yeah.
yeah, just dance. She really liked just dance. So
Mm,
doing that physical exercise together with my son, I have trampoline outside. Oh, this trampoline. I cannot even last 5 minutes, but that 5 minutes is enough for him to see what mommy's playing with me, even if it's just 5 minutes.
mm,
Doing things together physically, no matter what it is. Obviously, it's important that your child also enjoys the activity.
yeah,
As I was saying with the research, when it comes to outdoor play, it's extremely important for our children's well-being.
yeah,
Being outdoor, I know that everybody lives in a different area, and I'm extremely blessed to live here in Surrey. I just have to walk 5 minutes and I'm already in the woods with the lakes and things like that. But if even if you just go outside in the balcony, you go outside in the balcony, you're already outside, you sit down, you have a chat. If you go to your garden because maybe you don't feel like going for a long walk, you sit down, you go in the garden, you might do activities in the garden. And in order to do that, I think obviously we don't get great weather here, but you can always buy wellies, a nice raincoat, and buy the
yeah.
same for your children. So
Mm,
spending time together is extremely important. Again, children feel valued, they feel loved, they have sense of belonging,
mm,
which overall affects their well-being in a positive way.
yeah. I think, it's I quite like the idea of spending time outdoors, especially in nature. Now,
Mhm.
I grew up in Cameroon, in the west of Africa.
Yes.
Trust me, I was just telling my son the other day because his dad bought some guavas
Oh my
and
gosh.
brought them home. They're so expensive here. Like,
Hmm.
honestly. And I said to him, do you know in Granddad's compound back in Cameroon, there were 6 guava trees behind, and I used to spend a lot of my time on those guava trees. I just it just brought back memories when
Yeah.
those came home. And until date, I love spending time in nature.
Yeah.
Just even if it's just going for a walk in nature or walking among trees and all of that. But
Yeah.
I'm also sensitive that not everyone lives in an environment where they can easily access that. But you'll be surprised how healing that is. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. As I was saying, I'm reading a book and the research behind it had me like, I think the day after reading that book, that page, I took my children out in the woods. We're looking at all the different trees or and what
yeah.
my daughter she's very scientist, so she likes that kind of stuff. And she
Mm,
knows the trees names,
yeah,
what flowers they make and stuff like that.
yeah.
But is the research behind it was astonishing. And especially for special needs children,
Mm.
especially for special needs children, is very beneficial.
One
Outdoor
of
play.
the things that I really want to do, especially with this podcast, is get someone to come and share their experiences of
Mm.
support or being a parent to a special needs child. Maybe I'll reach back to you sometime
Yes,
and
yes,
get
yeah.
you to come on because I know a few parents who not a few, to be honest. I know many parents. I'm working in schools as well. I've got experience tons of experience of working with special needs children,
Mm,
but it's really great to hear from a parent who lives it every day, at home as well.
mm.
It would be
Yeah,
really nice, yeah. But
yeah.
just coming back to well-being first, before I come back to well-being, let me just acknowledge those who are here. Abia, thank you so much for joining us. Maju, thank you so much for joining us. And those of you who've stayed on, thank you. Please do remember to share the stream. I would really, really appreciate it if you did, because we want to reach as many parents as possible. And remember, it is real parents sharing real stories. And the idea is to build stronger communities and to support our children to become resilient, happy, and confident. So, just to round up, then, obviously, there are things that people don't think it is part of well-being. Especially, there's an aspect of well-being, intellectual well-being,
Mm,
that people don't really consider to be part of well-being. And it's things like reading a book, like you said, about trying to help your daughter to read. That is part of well-being, and getting the child to read a story that they are really interested in. Or
mm,
what I tend to do with my daughter is, she is not a big reader, but she loves to draw. She loves to draw. And so, instead of reading the story, we make up the stories and draw and animate the stories with drawings. So that way we still have a story. We're
mhm.
still stimulated intellectually, but it's not the reading which she doesn't really quite like to read. I just
Mm,
thought I'll just point on that as well, because
yeah.
when we talk about well-being, there's so much that comes into well-being that
Mhm.
we don't really think about, but also nutrition as well.
Yes, absolutely,
Do you want to
absolutely.
touch a little? Do you want to talk a little bit on that, on nutrition, just for
Um,
a minute or so?
so I don't, because obviously I go into schools and I only get an hour. I have to
Mm.
be very particular on what is it I can teach children, and because obviously I cannot bring the food into school.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't actually touch on that. But I think generally speaking, we all know how important eating well is for our overall well-being.
Mm.
I was listening just today. My friend actually sent me a reel about giving teaching treating your children as adults when it comes to food, so that they can learn themselves instead of you saying this is good, this is bad, and blah 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 blah. And the reel was talking about, for example, um, it's like, do this experiment one morning before school. Give your children cereal, tell them what that cereal is going to make them feel. It's gonna is you're gonna be jumpy, you're gonna have lots of energy, but you're also gonna be um you're also gonna be, it might make you a bit sad after that sugar effect, that
Mm.
sugar rush is gone. Let me know how you feel while you're in school. Let's write it down when you
Mm.
come back, and then tomorrow I'm just gonna give you protein. So I might give you a omelette with sausages and bacon, and you see that it's gonna make you feel better,
Mm.
and you're gonna have lots more energy. Let's see how the day goes in school. You may have more energy during school, and let me know when you come home. So I think, ooh, where do I start?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
do I start? Because statistics are showing that,
Mm.
the UK is just, with children obesity, we are like right there at the top when it comes comparing to Europe. So
Yeah.
what we feed our children is so important, and overall with physical exercise, with as we're talking about with mental well-being, and like you were talking about, even reading, even things like reading, it all comes down our academic performance. It all comes down to that. I was just telling my friend who is helping me paint, I was just telling him, it all comes down, especially as I'm getting older and I'm realizing everything that we do, the way we feel, what we're capable of doing, the way we speak, everything comes down to nutrition.
Mm.
Absolutely, everything comes down to nutrition. There is more than enough research out there to prove that, and it's important that we start from young.
Mm.
Um, Children having bad eating habits have a bigger effect than adults having bad eating habits, and that's again research can back that up.
Mm.
Because as you start eating, let's say very greasy foods, if you have a burger every week as a
Mm.
child, that effect that's a complete different effect than as an adult, because you're starting from so young, and
Yeah.
that's affecting your body. We have younger people suffering from things like a heart attack.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and it's
People in
not.
their 20s, their 30s now suffering from heart attacks. And you know, that those are things that growing up, we thought, heart attacks and
It's
strokes and
older
things like
people.
those, it's older people. But you're finding that younger and younger people are going into hospitals because of heart attacks as well. Yeah.
Yes. So when I was working with schools, because I'm going online now, so I used to go into schools each day, Monday to Friday, go into schools. As I said, the club runs for 1 hour.
Mm.
It starts with 20 minutes of physical exercise, because, as you know, it's recommended a minimum of 30 minutes to do physical exercise a day. And then we will go into guided arts and crafts. I say guided because I will always tell them what to do, and it
Yeah.
has to be related to well-being,
Mm.
and some self of sense. And then
Okay.
the last 10 minutes is mindfulness. But before they start, they will have a snack. And I always tell parents, please make sure that they bring a healthy snack. It's fruit or something that is not a packet of crisp,
Mm.
and a bar of chocolate, because it's just not really gonna help the
Yeah.
system. So I think nutrition is very, 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 very important
Mm.
for not just for the children, but for our well-being and
Yeah,
for our
absolutely.
health. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Thank you so much. Now, because this is a parenting podcast, there is
Yes.
one question that I ask every parent who comes on here, and that is the last question. So, as we round up, I am going to ask you that question. But before I ask you that question, let me just acknowledge those who've watched and who've stayed on. Thank you so much for coming on to watch. If you have watched and you've not shared just yet, please do share with the people in your network to then watch later. But also, if you want to reach out to us and talk about parenting or supporting your young people, please do. The number is right there going across on that pink banner right at the bottom. Please do reach us, or you can message us on Facebook or on WhatsApp using that number. So, final question from me, Lucia. What are 3 words? Can you tell me 3 words that reflect who you are as a parent?
The first word I would say lay back. I'm
Mhm.
very laid back. I really want to encourage independence when it comes to my kids, because I'm not always there now. I'm not there when they're at school. I'm not there when they're with their friends. So be independent and learn to do things for yourself.
Hmm.
The other one is fun. I like to have fun. I'm a little girl. I'm still a little girl on the inside.
Aren't we
I
all?
like to I like to have fun. I'm that mom that goes in the playground and she's swinging on this on the she's swinging on the swing next to her children. So I think I would like to think I'm fun. Maybe my daughter will disagree.
She
Now she's
might think otherwise, no.
yeah.
Especially when she turns 13 and she
Yeah,
goes teenage years. Yeah,
yes, I'm
right.
fun. She says, I always say I'm fun, but maybe for you, it'll just be embarrassing. But that's who I
Yeah,
am.
absolutely. She
If
would
we
say,
are in a school party, a school disco, I'm the mom that is dancing, and
oh, that's great. Yeah.
but I've learned that I'm very resilient. I'm very resilient because obviously life takes you through a roller coaster, through ups and downs, and you have no choice. I think sometimes it's just you don't have a choice but to just carry on and do the best you can.
Hmm. Oh, thank you so much,
Thank you for
Lucia. Thank
thank
you
you.
so much for coming on today. I really do appreciate your time. I did say it was going to be an hour. We're bang on. And I'm glad that we have kept it. We've put aside the chatter because I can chat. I love a chat. But
Yeah.
I'm glad that we have done this. If you are a parent on here, remember this is Parenting Made Simple podcast. It is our podcast. It is not mine. It is ours. Okay. And it is a place where real parents tell real stories to build stronger communities and to help our children become happy, confident, and resilient. Until next time, before you run, we do come on every other Sunday for the podcast. Okay, the podcast happens every other Sunday, and I will always try my best to find a guest who will tell us something that is really useful, just like today, just so that we can keep growing as parents. Because if you're a parent who's not willing to learn, then I'm afraid your children may not turn out to be what you really, really want them, or to be the best. Your children may not turn out to be their best, okay? Because every child has their best. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and thank you for sharing. Those of you who shared, if you still haven't shared, please do share. I keep banging on about this because I want to reach so many parents. It is my wish to reach many parents. Thank you, everyone. And it is a good night from me. And you, Lucia, good night to you as well. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for having me.
Cheers.